Dum de dum dum. I told you I was gonna come back. What am I gonna do it? Okay. So my plan, pen.new/2, was to make this because it's kind of neat looking, isn't it? So we're gonna make a glowing gradient divider because I think that it's really nice. I don't know where I came across this page, but it just seemed like a cool idea, like a design gallery where it's just components instead of entire sites. And I left this tab open. Why can't I go back? I can't go forward or back. Where's my little divider? There it is. That was weird. Did they break back button functionality? Apparently. Weird. Don't love it. Okay. But they did this nicely in that it's a nice looking component and it has a bunch of controls and you can copy it to your clipboard and all that. But we can do it too. And then I'd give me an excuse to use my own slide vars library, which I think is pretty fun. So we're dealing with an HR element. That's it. I definitely want it to be an HR. Isn't it begging to be an HR? I wonder what it's sort of to see what they give you here when you copy it. I bet it's a div just because everybody divs out. But the reason you'd use that is probably HR semantically, right? So let's not even name it. Let's just say HR. We could put it in the middle of the screen. I have my classic my center abbreviation that should push that to the middle of the screen. It pushed it to disappeared, apparently. Why did it disappear it? I kind of want to find it on the page. Will DevTools show me where it is? Oh, it's just vertical, or it's horizontally smashed. It's 2 by 2 with margin on the top and bottom of it. Oh, you really can just see it there. It's like this little tiny beveled dot in the middle of the page. I don't know if that will come across the stream or not, but that's very funny. So if you say width is like 100% here, is that gonna force it to the page? I guess it will. All right, it's in the middle of the page now. I'm cool with that. I like the background of this. Like, let's do it at like dark mode first or something. I guess it doesn't have to be first, but we could go color mode, light, dark, and that way we can kind of do it both ways. So the background of the body, we can go light, dark. In light mode, it's white. In dark mode, it's black. And that way, doesn't that work? If I then go in arc, I can go like dark mode. It doesn't switch. Why wouldn't it switch? Did I do this wrong? Maybe the browser setting doesn't matter. It has to be like system level dark mode or whatever. I know you can't see because I'm not sharing my system preferences, but if I do dark mode there, why shouldn't I know this after 100 times dealing with dark mode and light mode? No, I already was in dark mode at the OS level, and now I want to be in it at this level. CSS color mode. Did I spell it wrong? Color scheme, people. Color scheme. That's going to go black. Boom. Go black. Didn't go black. HTML, color scheme. Well, it's not space. It's not a dash. It's a space. Programming is hard. Okay, cool. So one of the other things I want to do is like look at, I don't know, the variables, I guess, because I want to like freaking overdo it, like all the way home with variables. So we're going to set this up and be like primary color, for example, is pink, let's say. and that we're going to get this linear gradient thing going on. First of all, we have to wipe out these styles, which I think is as simple as border 0, right? Those are just borders that make that. Yeah. So then we'll go height 1 pixel for now, and then we'll say background is var primary color. Okay, that's totally working. But we're not just going to go with a background. We're going to go with a background. I guess we should just be specific. Background image, and background, no, curly brackets, I wish, is a linear gradient. Right in the middle of that linear gradient is pink. So it basically goes from transparent to the variable to transparent. But then it's like to right or whatever, meaning it's starting at the left. That should work, right? It's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to work. Is it this syntax error I caused? To right from transparent. Yeah, there we go. So we have that. That's, done. We did it. The stream is over. Not quite, but, that's the look that we're going for from here pretty much. But let's get the variables going because that's the fun part. I have to Google it. Slide bars. That's the URL I want for it, but that's a little complicated. So is it up here? Yeah. CodePen.ninja, pretty sweet URL, right? This is what I want. I want my own little library. I probably could have memorized that. So if I import it then from NPM, if you didn't know this on the new editor on CodePen, we'll kind of detect that and be like, oh, you should probably have a package.json that specifies what version it is. And we'll make an import map to make sure that we map it to somewhere that it can pull in from NPM and all that. So that should work. Oh, you do have to call it though. I didn't do that. Well, I know what to call. We call the function that we just imported, and it will automatically detect custom properties that are on the root element. I didn't want to go. Slide bars is not a function. Yo, what? Did I do something wrong here? Oh, slide bars isn't a function. The init function is a function. Maybe I should have fixed that, huh? I could see that being a little confusing. Like, why do I have other functions that I expose on there? I can't really remember at the moment. That seems like an easy mistake to make, though. Oh, no, maybe. Hi, Emmett. Thanks for joining. Are you referring to, Emmett is asking flexible how, like flexible, like responsive design? Is that like, the title that showed up whenever I published this? I have to think of the title of the thing before I hit the button. What I meant flexible is like, you can change any aspect of this thing. We're gonna make this little component that we're stealing from goodcomponents.io have so many options that it's just wild. Like, because I don't know. I don't think that's the worst way in the world to design a component that has just tons of flexibility to it. That's easy to control. You don't need to know its internals. You can just mess with it. So now primary color is going to show up here. It's a named color, so it's going to bring up the system color palette. So I can change the color to whatever, and you can see it changing in the UI because the value of -- primary color, the custom property, is changing. And then it's changing live. Is that helpful to see better? It seems fine for the old watching on a small screen, perhaps. We could do OKLCH too, make a really bright pink. Ooh, it defaults to a bright pink. That's beautiful. That's OKLCH.com. I'm going to paste that into the value of this. That's going to pick up, slide bars is going to pick that up and be like, oh, that's a fancy color that the system color picker can't use. So I'm using Adams. Oh my gosh, is that a bug? No custom properties detected. Does it have to have commas to detect it? Ooh, it shouldn't. You're not supposed to have any things at all. Ooh, it's just not detecting that. I mean, the color is working, but slide bars is not picking it up. It should. I thought I fixed that. Does it pick up just LCH? No, it's not seeing that. Anyway, that's not something we can fix right at this moment. I've not seen that bug express itself exactly like that. 'Cause on my Ninja page, is it slide bars? Isn't there OKLCH selectors in the demo page itself? I guess there's not here. I say in the docs that it's fixed. Boo. It's going to bother me, obviously. I tend to get distracted by things like that. But we don't have time to fix that now. But we already have other opportunities of things that we could fix up. Like the height is 1 pixel, right? This could become a variable of height, and immediately that becomes a more flexible component. So merp, merp, merp. Look at that. And the defaults of 1 to 10 feel reasonable to me. That slide bar is deciding that for us, though, being like, that's such a low number. I'm not going to have it go to like 500. It's like kind of but guessing like, oh, it should probably be this. They probably want it within an order of magnitude of what it already is the kind of idea there. But that's already kind of the flexible component. That's okay. It's reminding me, like, if you're a React developer or something, that you're like designing a capital HR component. What are you doing here? Are you, I guess in React, you'd have to self-close it, even though you don't have to in HTML. You'd be like, height 2 or something. Like, that's a prop that you're making. You're designing the API for this component. We're just kind of doing the same thing in CSS, but they're just custom properties that the thing inherits, That's kind of the spirit of what's going on here, I suppose. Even the width is interesting. We could go width is 100% and then make this width so it doesn't have to be full page wide, I guess. Oh, it's allowing you to go way over 100%, which we don't really want to do, nor do we want to go to 0%. So let's open slide bars for the millionth time and look at the configuration of how I've got this set up. So manual configuration. Let's just copy it. I think that's fair enough. That's how developers work, isn't it? And then when you call init, you can pass in stuff. And you can actually pass in a second parameter too that we'll get with. Let's remove this. Actually, that's funny. Width is the first one, and that's what we actually named ours that we want to mess with. It's a slider. We're starting at 0, and I want to go to, or I want minimum of, say, 20 and a maximum of 100. The default being 100 is okay. The unit's a percentage, and do we care to scope it? I don't think we do in this case. But then this second object allows us to, because now when we open it, it's just going to be width only. It's like I want a combination of ones that I configure myself, and I still want the auto behavior as well. Which is like what? God, I need to make this more obvious. Options. Option is auto needs to be true in the options object here. That's not as clear as it could be. I think I could just go auto true here. And now it's going to combine this and the ones that it finds. So I still got my height, but now width is respecting exactly what I set up. So that's kind of cool. Some flexibility in the component. But not much. Like we're setting upper bounds and lower bounds on the flexibility of the component, which is kind of fun and awesome. Now, what else would we do with it? Is it like pulsed, right? That was kind of a fun part of the existing one. It got stronger and less strong. So we could write at keyframes pulse, and then do we need both keyframes? Probably not. We can just say to what though? Like the whole thing, are we controlling like like can we just do opacity? I suppose we could, right? We could say at 50% the opacity is 0.5 or something, and then say animation pulse over 3 seconds infinitely, forwards and backwards, I guess. All right, it's pulsing, but it's like, I think that probably is about how they're doing it too, right? Because even the center reduces its opacity a little bit as it pulses. I think that's kind of cool. But I guess my concern was like another way to pulse would be to like, I don't know, the middle's the middle. That's the strongest spot. So maybe the pulsing only changes the opacity like on the edges, or it squeezes in a little bit instead of changing. I mean, that's just like a possibility. I guess we could try that. At keyframes squeeze instead of pulse, and then at 50% of that animation, the edges come in a little bit. So you'd have a color stop here. So like, what does it look like if this is, I don't know, 20% and 80%? Doesn't that squeeze from both sides, right? So rather than having 20 and 80% here, they could be like start stop, or start color stop is 20% and end color stop is 80%, which I don't know, maybe we don't want those defaults. Maybe it should just be 0 and 100 as defaults, and then these become variables instead, right? Start color stop and end color stop. Lovely. So now they're defaulted there, but oh, that's funny. It's got the same problem. Oh, look at this laser beam. Here, I'll make it taller in case your screen's really small. Sick. I love it. But we may want to configure those too, right? Like this start color stop might be a minimum of 0, but only kind of max out at 40% or something, defaulting to 0. That could be similar to the end color stop, where it defaults to 100. The minimum is 60 and the maximum is 100. Did I do that right? So you can kind of, we could have it, if we maxed out the start, ooh, that made it really far that way. Where's my end color? If they were minimized and maximum, you get this little tiny baby guy in the middle. Or you start at the beginning and end there, you know? I don't know. It's kind of cool, but that opens up a different possibility for whatever squeezes, is we'd animate the value of start color stop and end color stop, right? So we go start color stop gets animated inwards more to 20%, and end color stop also comes inward to, what were we thinking? 60 or 80 or something. But now that's not actually going to work. Like, I think if we put squeeze here instead, I don't think squeeze is going to go. It's just going to go back and forth because it doesn't know how to animate a custom property that's not been defined. So where would we define them? We could do it up here at property, and then one of them is start color stop, too many dashes, and then it's what is it, syntax or type? Syntax, maybe, in quotes. It is a length, and it has an initial value of 0%. Is that going to start animating now? No, because you have to say it if it inherits or not. Ooh, inherits true. Is that going to now go? Absolutely not. Okay, CSS at property. Who's memorized these things? It's impossible. It's syntax. Angle. So we could call it a percentage. True has to be in quotes. Fair enough. Fair enough. It's a percentage. True has to be in quotes. Still not animating. Start color stop would be at 0%, and then it's being animated via squeeze to 20%. Shouldn't that be going real nice and chill? Do we have to do them both? Is it like confused? And color stop is 100%. Did I spell everything correctly? Inherits. Initial value. This is called sanity checking, people. Yeah, I spelled everything right. So now we'll see if DevTools has any hints for us. Oh, fun. Look at, you can see the values immediately interpolating. There's no, it just goes back and forth. Isn't that weird? We didn't say to do it linearly or with any number of steps or anything, but it clearly like doesn't know what to do. What if we just say 2? No, it's the same kind of thing where it's just hard. It's hard going back and forth. Why doesn't it like that? Does anybody have any ideas here? We declared it. They have valid values to begin with. They inherit. We're changing the values on them here as we're using them here. They're declared properly as percentages. It kind of feels like that should be correct. Obviously, it's not correct, so I shouldn't probably be spending time validating how correct I am. Mr. Chris Bolson, I bet you could figure this out in 2 seconds. You're a much better CSS coder than I am. I'm just having a little fun. My problem is that I have this HR element in which I've made a background on, and it starts, this is a color stop. So this is the same as saying 20% here and 80% or something. So it squeezes this. Right now it's a pink color. It would squeeze it inward a little bit. Or if I didn't do anything, it would be defaulting to essentially 0 and 100% there. So now I have it back at 0 and 100%. So it's stretched back out, I would think, to the edges, which it has been doing. But then I thought, hey, there's no reason we couldn't animate the value of start color stop and end color stop. So we're just doing that. So halfway through the animation, it should be at 20%, then go back to where it was. But you can see it's just kind of stair stepping. It's just going burp, 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 back and forth. And I just thought that would be very straightforward. Oh, yeah. About the ordering, I kind of agree. Look at how awkward that is, whereas end for some reason comes first. What if we refresh the page? Are we going to get this exact order? Because it's not alphabetical order, and it's not the order that they are in the file either. Primary color, yeah, because height is second here, but fourth here. Is it random? It's probably not random, but heck if I know what the order is. It probably is. You know, it iterates over what you get back from the CSS OM or whatever. Not sure. I have a little feeling that it doesn't like that they're declared here at the HTML level, not on the element itself. Like if I pluck these off and put them here instead, are they going to animate nicely then? No. I don't really get why it's refusing to animate a percentage value. It seems like it's got all the information it needs to do so. But I lack the knowledge to understand why it wouldn't animate that. That was kind of an aside to begin with. We were really just going with the pulse animation instead, which looks and works just fine. I just thought it would be like an alternative style of animation is is like squeezing it inwards a little bit. You know, another way to squeeze it though, wouldn't it be like to scale it? Can you scale things in only one direction in CSS? Is there like CSS scale X or something? Does scale take two values? There's transform scale X. But what if you just say scale in CSS? Does it take two values? It does. What's the first of the two values? I guess we can just find out pretty quick. It's usually horizontal and then vertical, right? So if we want scale 0.51, would it squish this way? Oh, it totally does. That's better anyway. That's more of a squeeze than trying to mess with color stops. Not to mention it would be more performant, wouldn't it? Because isn't dealing with transforms, like scale is a transform, isn't that more performant animation-wise anyway? I think so. That's kind of fun. So that would be an option, though. So I wonder, can we use keyframes that make their way into there? So we could say something like pulse minimum is 50%, we were saying. So instead of going here, we'll say var pulse minimum. So if that pulse minimum went lower, like all the way there, yeah, now it's getting really super tiny. It's kind of fun. And then the pulsing could be interesting too. I wonder, that would be a feature I could and maybe should add to this. Is like, I was thinking of types. That's kind of why I made it to begin with, though, is like there's all these different types that some of these other projects have that are fancy, like select drop-down menus and stuff. And I was like, I don't know if you need that many types. You kind of just need numbers. And I was like, well, you really need colors too. But I stopped at numbers and colors. But if I was going to make more types, I'd make Boolean, just so there's a thing that you can turn on and off really quick. I think that would be kind of useful. And then maybe selects, like select from these three valid values or something. It just seems like be a decent amount of bloat for what is a pretty simple thing. Sweet. So we did that. The pulse though could be because the whole point of this is configurability, right? So we'll say squeeze minimum or scale minimum var scale minimum. Scale minimum is also, but this isn't quite a percentage. What kind of is a percentage, isn't it? 20% or something. We had it at 0.5, and I think that the scale property in CSS probably will take it either way as a float or a thing. So if we changed the scale minimum to 0, now it's going to squish all the way to 0, right? So cool. All right. Kind of good. We could configure that more and say scale minimum, you can't go all the way to 0 or whatever, but that seems fine. We were just kind of demonstrating that anyways. What other kind of things could we add? Let's look at the original. Again, this came from goodcomponents.io, and I just kind of liked how they rolled here. I'm not sure I love that. I don't mind the glowing. I guess the glowing comes from a box shadow of the same color. I think that looks weird on theirs with the little transparent edges. I don't know if that I go with that. But a box shadow will certainly give us more variables to play with. That's fun. Oh, they do have the same kind of squeezy point thing. Fade point. That's fun. Sweet. Let's do a box shadow on this thing. Box shadow is 0, 0, 100 pixels of white. Wow, nothing. Is that too wide, or do you have to give it some spread in order to see it? Is 100 pixels too much? Oh yeah. Ooh, look at how glowy it is. Wow, that's very glowy. Wow, I sort of don't hate it. It's very like ethereal or whatever that word is. Okay, so we would make the minimum maximums pretty big. Although it's suffering from that same kind of point is that the edges now, they don't feel transparent. They feel like you can see the black on the edges because the box shadow is like unwilling to paint over the box, which is kind of cool, but I think that's I don't know, it's like a side effect. It's like almost like you want to use width instead of color stops. Like just make the width less, which we already did, just pull the width in when you're doing this instead of having, I don't know, I guess it kind of minimizes how much of that black you see, I guess is the point. That's fun. We'd probably make the color of the box shadow the same as the background of it, right? The background color being primary color. So instead of just white here, we get primary color. Then it gets to be pink instead. I think that looks cool. And then what are these? What do you call that first one? Like shadow? Like I know this one is spread, right? So var shadow spread. So many. I guess we're starting to feel the point of this is like too many variables is too much too. In the beginning I was like, no, there's not going to be too much. Too much is not a thing for today, but obviously it is in real life. Shadow spread if we freak it out. Oh my God, amazing. I love it. What do you call it? What is the third value in CSS box shadow? Should we check CSS check, see if it has it? Horizontal offset, vertical offset, and blur radius. And then it was spread radius, so we could just do it correctly. Shadow spread radius and shadow blur radius. So that was like 100 it started out as. So now we'll make them shadow spread radius. We'll replace the hard-coded value with shadow blur radius. Just did this one incorrectly. Radius. Okay, and that was like 140 actually. Yeah, 100's probably fine as a default. That's fun. That's ultra glowy to me. What does it look like in yellow? Delicious. So horizontally. I wish I probably use HRs more than the next guy, I'd say, in my writing. I should make sure that every site I have has like amazing HRs on it. I think it's classy when sites have like 3 little dots or some kind of little flourish symbol or something instead of just a line, but a line does the trick too. So how big could we go with the spread? Let's crank the spread, crank the blur. God, so you can go pretty big here, obviously. And I almost think that the pulsing minimum should be 0 to start, right? How does the pulse is the scale? Well, the pulse is fine. It's the scale minimum that should be maxed out at just like 1, right? You'd never go over 1. That's kind of against the spirit of this thing. It's funny, it's barely moving at all now. It's because I messed up the pulse. I don't know. It does look amazing though. I think it's fun to play with code till you've lost the plot on your own code and be like, I don't even know what it's doing now, but it's amazing. Is there anything else we could copy from here? They just did the spread and we did the spread and the blur for whatever reason. And then they have, do you want the pulsing or not? So I guess at this point we could just look and see what they give us. I have no idea what they give us. How to use. Let's see this first. First, you have to create an account with Beehive. I don't even know what Beehive is. I'm sure it's super neat. Is it like a Figma? Looks a little Figma-y. Or no, it looks a little like Webflow-y, like dragging componentry or whatever. Then, to use these components, you drag and drop the HTML box so that you can put in whatever. Oh yeah, that's interesting. So if you found like a cool pen, you could grab the HTML and CSS from one particular component and then put these things in there. So you copy them, then you edit them with AI. Yeah, of course you do. Yeah, that looks fine. This is clever. I think if I worked at Beehive, I'd be like, let's make a cool component library so people can copy and paste the stuff. And then we'll break the black button too, so you can't get to the components you want. Build your own components? How do I literally cannot get back to where I was. Goodcomponents.io. I don't want to build them. I want to look at them. Browse all. There's that one. Copy to clipboard. What do you give me? You only give me one piece of code, which you'd think it would need HTML and CSS to function. Let's just make a new, like a readme or junk drawer.html or something. Yes, it's HTML. Okay, so it's like utility classes is what they're giving us with a style tag on there. I'm not sure I super love that, but it's got baked in colors. So when you change the colors in theirs, that just is going to change the style attribute that they're giving you, which I guess is okay, but it doesn't make it very flexible, does it? And then width full just must be 100% wide, probably not terribly necessary. It's flexbox, that also doesn't seem necessary. And how it's aligning itself doesn't seem necessary. That's probably not necessary at all. Class of rounded full, is it rounded on the edges? I guess it is. These little edges over here that's just like border radius 10,000 or whatever to make sure that it's as wide as it'll ever need to be. That doesn't seem super necessary. It's so narrow usually. I mean, I don't hate it, but not necessary. And then it just makes the gradient from transparent, which is the last 0 in RGBA. You could probably express this as, you could do this. To be a little more modern, so you don't have to think about RGBA anymore. There's just one function for it, with or without the transparency. But I do kind of like that. Used to be like an old trick, is like, don't just go like 255, 255, 255 for white transparency. Use the same transparency as the color that you're going to, that like helped the linear gradient fade out the color you are in more correctly. That's kind of fun. Maybe we should look at that and see if that's still an issue, and then we can call it for the day. We didn't do anything that interesting. Should we just take what they gave us and just put it on this page too, even though it's totally unrelated to what we were doing, so we don't have to start a new pen just for funsies? Now it's going to split the height because of the way it's being centered, right? Cool. Why can't we see this at all? Is it because this has to be style equals width 100% also? Because we don't have a W full class? It is. Okay, so there's that. I think if you put white in these transparents instead of the pink you were already using, it looks like it's fine now in browsers because it knows you're just like, this is just transparent. But it used to kind of like fade, like the pink used to get whiter at the edges because you're like, oh, it's not just transparent, it's transparent white. You know what I mean? But I think browsers fixed that. At some point, I think they were like, this is too annoying that people have to like kind of repeat their color values when what they're trying to just say is just transparent. But there's, there was transparent white, there was transparent black, there's transparent pink, it kind of depended. But I think those days are over. But you can kind of smell the old schoolness. I mean, it has RGBA in there. It's not like a problem. CSS will support that forever, but it just feels like the tiniest bit old school to me to still be using RGBA just because you want transparency. It's like, I don't know, use an 8-digit hex code, or just use RGB with the slash, or use a more modern color format or something. I don't know why. It just feels like like I said, this is the tiniest bit old school on that. But cool. That site is actually pretty cool with all the cool components they have in it, and we're just having fun with it. Theirs is just as good as better as ours, I'd say. I just hadn't done a stream yet where I pointed out the this thing, but I like Mr. Bolson's idea here of could we figure out the source order of these in the source code for slide bars and order them in that way, or have some kind of order that isn't just super weird. This isn't alphabetical or source order, so it's a little improvement. We could just do that as a stream. It wouldn't be so bad. But I'm gonna call it for the day. I'll see you tomorrow probably.